Okay, so this is the Arizona Association of Realtors Real Estate Agency Disclosure and Election. Basically, this form is the form that I give you in the beginning, or your realtor gives you in the beginning, stating that you are hiring our company to represent you in your transaction, and everyone agrees to it and signs it. This is pretty self-explanatory. The first line, line one, is the firm name, the broker name. For example, if I was representing you in a transaction, this would be my company name or broker's name. Number two, or line two, acting through me, the licensee's name, hereby making the following disclosures. So we have a seller or landlord's disclosure here, buyer broker agreement. There's three types of agreements you can have: a buyer broker agreement, a seller's broker agreement, or a broker representing both the seller and the buyer. Read through these if you're confused in any way. These are very helpful and has a lot of information in here initially to kind of help you get a basic understanding of who's representing who and kind of who does what in the transaction. Down here below, you'll have the election section. I did want to point out line 23 on this though and read this part. This section through line 32 is pretty important. Regardless of who the broker represents in the transaction, the broker shall exercise reasonable skill and care in the performance of the broker's duties and shall be truthful and honest to both the buyer and seller and shall disclose all known facts which materially and adversely affect the consideration to be paid by any party. The rest is a bunch of legal verbiage, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Please review this thoroughly. It's in your best interest to understand fully what you're getting yourself into. The duties of the broker in a real estate transaction do not relieve the seller or the buyer from the responsibility to protect their own interests. The seller and the buyer should carefully read all agreements to ensure that the documents adequately express their understanding of the transaction. This is the part that I find consumers and clients have the most trouble with, is just understanding the transaction. So this initial form already has a lot of information for you to kind of start you off and get you kick-started in the transaction as far as understanding what's going on. A buyer or tenant election is to be completed only if you are the buyer. So this first section, only if you're going to be the buyer. This second section is only to be completed by the seller. And the very bottom of this is where everyone prints their name and signs and dates. And that's pretty much it. So thanks, guys.